Speaking of unscrupulous promoters and unscrupulous managers, here's another video recommendation. IFL just uploaded an interview with Jarrell Miller. I want you guys to go and watch this interview from the 18 minute, 17 seconds mark. 18 minutes, 17 seconds. Listen to what Jarrell Miller says about the way promoters and managers often operate in boxing. Listen very carefully to what he says. In this instance, he's at least partly talking about his promotional situation with Salita Promotions. And he's been quite vocal about the fact that he's not happy with the situation. He did at one point try to break away from Salita Promotions, but he was unsuccessful. Now he is co-promoted by Eddie Hearn, and he says in this interview he is much happier with the way Eddie Hearn does business than with the other people he's done business with in boxing. I have to assume he's talking about Salita too. He's much happier with Hearn and seems to indicate that Hearn is a lot more upfront and honest about the way he does business. And with regards to contracts, you see, again, you get these borderline sociopathic people who are apologists for the unscrupulous managers and the unscrupulous promoters when it comes to contracts. And they say, oh, see, these fighters are dumb. That's why they get into these contracts that they're not happy with. You know, it's their fault. It's the fighter's fault. Well, no, it's not the fighter's fault. The fighters are in a position of vulnerability. They don't have legal training. And worse than that still, what Jarrell Miller describes here, you have to imagine is rampant in boxing. Because he describes a scenario where the lawyer, which he believes is working in his best interests, looks over the contract, the promotional contract that he has. And everything seems to be kushti, right? Everything seems to be cool. But down the line, he figures out that the lawyer and his promoter and manager are all buddy-buddy. And that they have conspired together to put him in a contract which is exploitative, which gives them, their little clique, power over him. So the lawyer, from what Jarrell Miller is saying, has been disingenuous because he has a friendship with the promoter or the manager or whoever it is he's referring to. If you don't think that kind of stuff goes on, you must be very naive indeed. I mean, we'll talk about the fighters maybe being naive or misinformed or ill-educated about business. Well, you must be very ill-educated and very naive if you don't think that there are cliques in boxing. When you get a matchmaker, a promoter, and a lawyer, and they're all buddy-buddy. And they'll conspire to make sure that fighters stay on slave contracts. Let's just call them that. And that's what Jarrell Miller's talking about in this video. Fighters are in impossible situations sometimes in this game. This game is such a dirty business. I knew a professional fighter. I'm not going to name him, but was he a bantamweight or a featherweight? He's a British fighter. And he was signed at the time to Frank Maloney. This is probably 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. He was signed to Frank Maloney. And him and his dad were extremely upset with Frank Maloney most of the time. And they were always telling me about how terrible a person Frank Maloney was, and he was someone that couldn't be trusted. This is what they would tell me, right? I got no inside knowledge of the situation myself. I'm just going by what they were telling me. And some of the things they told me that they allege Maloney did would shock you. And again, I can't come out and say everything here because I don't want to open myself up to any kind of legal action, all right? But I'm convinced, let's just put it that way, I'm very convinced that there are all kinds of unscrupulous practices that go on the business end of boxing, which do involve people who shouldn't be conspiring against the fighter, actually conspiring against the fighter, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm sounding a little vague here, but as I say, I've got to be careful about the words I choose. So anyway, definitely recommend this interview. Excuse me. Definitely recommend this interview. Yeah, with Jarrell Miller. He talks about a whole bunch of other stuff. But again, he's talking about how Eddie Hearn does what he promises to do. So if Eddie Hearn is the devil, if Eddie Hearn is the worst of the worst, why is someone like Jarrell Miller, who's had bad experiences on the business end in boxing in the United States, why is he saying that Eddie Hearn is better from a business perspective than all the other people he's dealt with? And he's dealt with other networks. It's not just talking about managers and promoters here. He's dealt with multiple different networks. He's fought on HBO, he's fought on Showtime, and he's fought on DAZN. Think about it. I know people love this Eddie Hearn's the devil meme, but is it really true? What are the fighters saying? Are the fighters saying that Eddie Hearn is that bad? Are the fighters saying he puts them on slave wages and slave contracts? Is that what the fighters are saying? The fighters who have had fallouts with Eddie Hearn seem to have had personal beefs with him, whereby they think his ego is too big, or, for example, in the case of O'Hara Davis, he felt like he was thrown under the bus in a controversial PR situation. Let's just put it that way. A situation which was bringing negative press on potentially Matchroom. And so Matchroom used O'Hara as a scapegoat. That's how O'Hara sees it. Now, that may well be true. And perhaps O'Hara has got every reason to feel aggrieved. But guess what? O'Hara Davis wasn't dropped by Matchroom. O'Hara Davis said himself Matchroom didn't drop him. He chose to leave Matchroom after the way they handled that situation. And he was able to leave without any lawsuits, without any legal threats, nothing like that. Just a clean break. He left. Same with Carl Frampton. Same with, as I've mentioned before, all these fighters who leave Hearn, they just can leave. They ain't getting dragged through court. They ain't getting kept out of the ring for 2 years like Mikey Garcia was against Bob Arum. No, you don't see none of that. Not everybody's going to like Hearn. Not everybody's going to want to do business with him in the long term. That's okay. As long as they're allowed to leave, there's no problem. They go be with someone else, some other promoter who they think is going to do a better job for them. That's all right. Let's see what happens when they try to leave those promoters. As I say, in the case of Carl Frampton, he got issued with a lawsuit, legal action, when he left Barry McGuigan. And that's commonplace in boxing. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.